Okay, so anybody who's watching the recording, we are doing the live call. If you didn't see the message, we're doing the live call now at 12:30 on Wednesdays over the lunch hour kind of thing. So hopefully everybody can get on or some people can get on. So anyway, okay. Oh my gosh. Now I'm like all like, man, what am I doing here? I'm so used to doing this at night. So what is happening with everybody? What are some Okay, let me ask a very specific question. Wins, kind of the win kind of category. Like,
I didn't get done now.
has anybody has anybody with what we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 weeks now with habits, has anybody, and it doesn't have to be within the last 2 or 3 weeks, but since we've been talking about habits and changing habits, or maybe something that you have done maybe before we started that's been really working for you. So either or, something that you changed that's really working and maybe a little bit about that, or in the last couple of weeks since we've been talking more details about it, has anybody implemented anything? And ready, set, go.
I'm going to try something new with food, but I haven't done anything different because I feel like I have a lot of habits in place, but I'm trying something more with food.
What do you mean, Heather? What do you mean by with food?
Well, I mean, I pack all healthy snacks because I'm a snacker, so I will grab chips or anything that's in front of me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
having my yogurt in my purse or a smoothie already made, my drink pre-mixed, so I have to drink or eat it.
Awesome.
So
And
that's
it kind of goes
good.
back to, I think I mentioned at the maybe in last week's call, the visual cue, like having something in front of you so you see it is going to be more likely, and it can be food, it can be anything. It could be the book that you're wanting to read on your nightstand or whatever, visual cue. So good job. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Small things like that'll pay off. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I've been doing dry brushing more regularly, and
Great.
I don't I don't know. I'm hoping it's making a difference, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, yeah. So any dry brushing and anything with like the lymphatic system, I'd say it's probably more rare to notice like big changes, right? So, but it's just about getting those toxins back to your liver so your body can flush them out. So over time, it's a detoxification thing. So I know sometimes people, and not that this applies to you, but sometimes people will have like skin issues, maybe acne, things like that, that will start to clear up with something like dry brushing, but that doesn't apply to everybody. So, or fluid retention, a lot of people who have swollen ankles, swollen feet, when they start to get that lymphatic system moving, those are kind of things you can notice as well. So, but good for you, Janine. I'm happy to hear that.
I have a question. Does
Yeah.
dry brushing help aid the liver too?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. I would say when the liver is sluggish, like we're trying to get the lymph, so the stuff that's accumulating in our body to the liver. Okay. Now, so if the liver is sluggish, then we need to be supporting that as well.
Okay.
Right. So the dry brushing is not directly impacting the liver. So this would be like the concept we talked about with like habit stacking. So you start with dry brushing, starting to get those fluids moving, but then maybe the next thing that you stack on top of that would be something like castor oil packs, like on the liver, because those help aid the detoxification of the liver.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
so again, that's just an idea, but because there's a lot of other things you can do for the liver. Obviously, stay hydrated, eat healthy food. I mean, so many of those things. Okay,
Okay. Thanks.
yeah. Anybody else?
Hey, I got all the kids to sleep at the same time.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah. Glad to have you
are
on.
you?
I know it's.
She's in her garage. Are you in your
I
garage?
see a pull-up bar.
This is my garage. This is the only place I can talk without waking anybody up.
The only request I have is you gotta show us some pull-ups now.
Getting a little dusty.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Although I know you could do it, but that's great. I know it's going to be probably, if you need to get going because of a kid or something, that's fine. So, anybody else? Any habit wins?
Well, I did all of my my meal prepping on Sunday after I went to the grocery store and everything. So I've got everything um mostly ready to go for all of my meals. There's one you don't usually see. Yeah, so but one thing for like me, like if I have like a bunch of like clutter on the cabinet and stuff like that, like it just messes with my brain like really bad. So like I added a couple of more like fruit bowls, like a fruit bowl, a vegetable bowl and stuff like that, that the stuff that I don't have cut up on a regular basis just because it keeps everything contained for me and it like does a
Yeah.
lot for my stress level.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Good work. What was I thinking? I was thinking something as you were talking, and I forgot. It left me. Oh well, it's not that important, I guess. Well, thanks for sharing, everybody. I love to hear all these little things because the little things add up over time. That's what we've been talking about. And I started to do one myself, guys. So I'll share that with you. I kind of called you all out last week, and I said, "Who's done the manual lymphatic drainage technique?" And nobody had. And dry brushing, Janine, that's awesome. The manual like technique, like I said, it only takes maybe a few minutes and it's not something that I had been doing regularly. So I was like, man, I need to get back on that. So I started to take my own advice, right? Like I teach you guys. And what I did was I kind of habit stacked, but it was kind of like one of those where the concept of adding a new habit into something that you're already doing. So what I'm doing is every morning when I get up and I get in the shower, I am doing the manual lymphatic technique that I showed you guys a number of weeks ago, just in the shower, right? So it's like I'm not really wasting any more of my time, and I'm just as the hot water is running on you, kind of gets the blood flowing anyway, kind of heats you up, and that's a really great time for me to do it. So it's been really good thing for me too. So that was my win for the week. So all right, what do we have going on today? Okay, so to just kind of recap real quickly what we've covered so far with habits, just in case somebody's jumping on and watching this and they missed the last couple of weeks, you can always go back and rewatch. But really, we all kind of have this trajectory that we're on. We want to be healthier. We want to be, whatever we are, whatever we want to be. We have our whys and we have who we want to become. And then it's just about setting the small sustainable habits if you're feeling overwhelmed. Oh, I know what it was. Okay, it kind of plays in with this too. With habits and what some of you guys aren't doing that I think maybe you should take advantage of. So I've been having a lot of discussions with quite a number of you guys lately about specifically nutrition. Maybe you're stalled out and plateaued in weight loss or whatever it is. Uh, and I've had a lot of, and this is like I'm talking about, I've had a lot of conversations lately about this. So many of us are not tracking our food. Okay. So that's number one. It is kind of annoying, but if you really are plateaued and stalled out, it's kind of one of those things where you're going to probably have to just suck it up and do it for a while. Okay, take the time and energy to start tracking your food. Doesn't mean you have to weigh your food and like go crazy with it. But whether it's on MyFitnessPal or any of the apps that you have, making sure you're plugging in what you're eating every day and drinking every day, because it's so easy to think we're getting 1,800 calories a day and we're actually getting 2,400, right? It's very easy. 2, 3, 4, 500 calories is really easy to miss. So that's number one. And then also taking advantage of me, I mean, in a healthy way. Like if you guys are tracking your food, I have a couple of you that are sending me your food logs on a weekly basis. Okay. I don't mind that because if I see anything that I think, oh man, you need to change or maybe tweak this, I'm happy to do that. Okay. So if you guys want to take advantage of that and you're really struggling with that, just let me know. Okay. Anyway, so that could be something maybe some of you guys work on over the next week or two. as a new habit. Track your food, send me some of the results, and we can go from there. So then we talked about these small sustainable habits, habit changes. We talked about the 2-minute rule, I think last week was it, where if you want to start a new habit, try to make it easy and not feel like a lot of work and a lot of stress on you. So, that's what the 2-minute rule is. Less than 2 minutes to start. Okay. And then we talked about habit stacking. Kind of already covered that. As time goes on, you can start stacking these habits on top of each other. So I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I floss my teeth, I take a shower, I do my manual lymphatic drainage, and then I go into the kitchen, I drink my 30 grams of protein in my smoothie or my shake. So that's kind of like what I'm talking about. You're starting to stack these habits on top of each other. Okay, and so now we're going to move on today to a little bit of a different topic, kind of all tying in with that. So I've referenced this a couple times, but listen to this quote and really kind of think about this. I'm sure some of you guys know the name Carl Jung, and it's spelled Jeung. If you ever took a psychology class, you probably learned about Carl Jung. He was a pretty world-renowned, famous psychologist. And one of his quotes said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Everybody kind of understand what that means? So until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. Oh, this is just the way it is. Oh, this is just happening to me. Oh, it's just my genetics. Oh, whatever the excuse is. So what he meant by that is so many things that we do in our day-to-day life are unconscious, subconscious. Like we don't think about them, we just do them. You don't think about how to tie your shoe anymore, you just do it, right? And this is something that you might be surprised in your daily life, how many really kind of bad or unhealthy-ish habits you have that you're not even aware of. That can be physical things that you're doing. Maybe gosh, and I'm sure all of you this is a bad example for you guys because you're probably well aware, but some people don't even realize that they're like snacking, like if they're stressed out at work or something and they're just like grabbing the diet soda or putting snacks in their face, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I was doing that. But it can also be mental. It can also be, what are you telling yourself all day? Like, is there negative self-talk in your head? Are you always hard on yourself? Are you your worst critic? Like, you start paying attention to this stuff and it can really be mind-boggling. Okay, so that's Carl Jung, a psychologist who taught all of this stuff. So here's what out of the book Atomic Habits, which I've been teaching a lot on, is an example of what he says an exercise to do. So this would be a challenge for you guys. Maybe you guys take this little exercise and do it on yourself for a day. Maybe you do it a couple times over the next week, maybe a couple of days of your week. But what you do is you literally on your phone, in a journal, whatever works for you, you write down every single thing you do that day from the time you wake up until the time you fall asleep, and even try to get as detailed as like some of the thoughts that you're having. So I get up, my alarm goes off at 6:15 a.m. I hit the snooze and I fall back asleep. My alarm goes off at 6:25 a.m. I hit the snooze again and I just lay there like, oh, I don't want to get up for the day. I'm so tired. And I have these kind of negative thoughts already. My alarm goes off again at 6:35, the third time. So I finally drag myself out of bed. Maybe I'm kind of like ho-humming around like, oh, it's a dreary day today. This is a terrible day. I don't have the energy to do this. I got all these things going. Maybe it's worrying about things that day. Then let's say you go to the restroom, okay? Then you brush your teeth, then you turn on the shower, then you get in the shower, then you dry off, you get dressed, turn on the coffee pot, start making breakfast, you pour your coffee. Like literally, you guys get the point there, right? Like every single thing, that was an example of maybe my morning. Like I'm notorious for hitting the snooze and it's not good. And so I write these things down as you go through your whole day, and even those thoughts that I was having, like, oh, I don't want to get up, oh, this blah, blah, blah. The next step, once you have that list, is to go line by line and either put a negative, like a minus sign, a plus sign, or an N by each thing. What that stands for is the minus sign would be a negative thought or a negative habit of some sort. A positive sign would be a positive habit or a positive thought. And an N would be neutral. Like, okay, I used the restroom. That's neutral, right? Like I took a shower. That's neutral. I mean, it could be positive, obviously. Hygiene is important, but you guys get the point. Positive, negative, or neutral. And then what you do is you just look through that and it can really be eye-opening as to what you're doing in your daily life. And so this can be a great cue. We're going to talk about cues here in a second again. It can be a great cue for you to know more what you need to change in your life. Okay. Now, there's two things with that. You could look at your list and be like, holy moly, I need to stop these bad habits. Okay. So that would be one example. Another example would be, man, I need to like celebrate wins, or I need to like do more positive self-talk or whatever it is. Right. So you can think about this in those two different ways. Is that making sense to everybody? I would really encourage you guys to try this. I'm telling you, it doesn't take that much effort. Just write down everything you do in a day and evaluate it. All right. So the next principle that I believe I mentioned last week is called the habit loop. So if you just think about a circle, like a vicious cycle or a cycle of some sort, there's 4 parts to this habit loop. Part 1 is called the cue. The cue triggers your brain to initiate some sort of behavior. Okay. So it's a cue catches your attention. And again, it can be conscious or subconscious because cues are constantly happening, not only in our external environment, like the feedback we're getting from our external environment, but they're also happening in our internal environment, our bodies. Okay. So for example, like right now in my office, I'm getting this cue where like it's a little hot in here. Like I'm starting to feel a little bit of a sweat. So that's going to cue me to take some sort of action or some sort of response, which is step 2. An internal cue would be, it could be something like your stomach growling, right? Your stomach growls and you're like, you kind of feel that pit in your stomach. And it's like, oh, that's the internal cue to your brain. I'm hungry. I need energy. I need food. Okay. So internal and external cues. It can also be, like I said, kind of even more on the mental side. Like if you feel, if you're someone who deals with maybe a lot of worry, a lot of sadness, depression, anxiety. I mean, all of us probably do to some extent, but you know who you are if you do. Those are cues. I mean, those are literally telling your brain you need to do something. It's going to lead to some sort of behavior because you're going to want to feel better. You're going to want to escape that feeling. You're going to want to feel happier. You're going to want to sense some sort of sense of relief. Okay. So you have the cue, if everybody's clear on that. Then what he says is that leads to a craving. Okay, so yeah, okay, there's cravings we all think about, like, ooh, sugar cravings or salt cravings. I know a lot of us struggle with those too. Okay, but the craving is the motivational force behind everything we do. Okay, so it's kind of that motivation, and without it, we really don't have a reason to act out or to respond or do something. Okay, so one example I remember he used in the book is with smoking cigarettes. It's like people who are addicted to nicotine in general or cigarette smoking, they don't crave the cigarette. They actually crave, and this was psychology research that showed this. They don't crave the cigarette. They crave the sense of relief that it brings, right? That's a physiological, a biochemical, and even a psychological relief that nicotine pattern and addiction has built up over time. Okay, so the craving for that person would be, I need the cigarette, but it's really because they need to feel relief of some sort. Okay, triggers or cues, basically what I'm calling cues, but I think of them like triggers too. They lead to these cravings, and they're different. They're different for all of us. I think I might have used this example. I think he used this in the book too, like last week. Like if someone had a gambling addiction in their life and they've beat that, if they hear the dinging of a slot machine, they still are cued. They still are triggered. Okay. And it actually has been shown that the dopamine cycle in their brain still is activated, even if they've been away from gambling for a long time. Pretty fascinating to think about. So bad habits are hard to break sometimes. And even when you break them, you still have to be conscious of kind of what's going on, or else it's easy to fall back into them. Okay. And this is not just it's not, and so this, my point with this is it's not just like you're a weak person, like you just, you need to like, it's not that. There's literally physiology stuff going on that if you're aware of it, you try to not put yourself in that position, obviously. But anyway, okay. So another example would be the craving for the stomach growling. When I said, you're hungry, so your stomach growls. That's hunger, right? So that's the craving. You're like, okay, now I need food. Okay. The third step, so we have the cue, the craving, and now the third step is your response. So this is the actual habit that you perform. The response is, it can be an action or even a thought, like we've talked about. Okay. Now, the response you take to whatever's going on, it kind of depends partly in like your ability level. So for example, if you want to start a new habit that requires like a ton of energy and time, and maybe you just don't have the energy or time, that's kind of like something that's pretty extreme example, but it's pretty simple. Like you're probably just not going to stick with that habit, right? Okay, so you got to always think about these things. How do you cue? How do you crave? How do you respond to those cravings? Okay. The response to hunger, my stomach growled, is going to be to go get food. So then it becomes important, like what Sandy gave us an example of, and Heather too, is like if you only have sugary junk food laying around and you have that cue and that craving, what are you going to do? I mean, you have to have a lot of willpower to just like not eat any of it, right? So it's like if you have the healthy stuff laying there, sitting there at your desk, in your drawer, wherever, right, you're going to be more apt to act on that with a good, healthy response. Okay, so the response is the third thing. The fourth part about this is what's called the reward. And this is where like the end goal of every habit is obviously some sort of reward. Like, okay, the goal for a lot of us is weight loss or get my gut working better or regulate my hormones or feel better, have more energy, all the things, right? So we all have these end goals. And the reward basically is going to, as time goes on, satisfy the cravings and the responses that we have. Okay, so it's oh gosh, I'm trying to mumble on my words here, but like our nervous system is basically constantly working and evaluating what behaviors are satisfying our desires. So go back to the dopamine example I kind of talked about a second ago. Like with smoking and with gambling addiction, like that dopamine, that feel good reward. A lot of you guys know that dopamine is like your reward neurotransmitter. It's like it triggers in your brain and it's like that feel good, like, yeah, right? I did it or I got it or whatever's going on. So dopamine, and there's other chemicals as well, but what the science shows is that they start to create these ingrained patterns, like I explained with the gambler. Like you can stop a bad habit, but the second they hear that ding, ding, ding of the slot machine, that dopamine cycle is still patterned in there. Okay. It takes a long time to change that neurochemistry, which, if you remember last week, I did talk about that. Neuroplasticity, your nervous system, you can change it. It just takes a long time and a lot of discipline and using these kind of principles that we're kind of talking about. Okay. Is everybody following me with this? Any questions so far? So cueing, your craving, we all probably know, what we're craving, and then your response to it, which is the behavior, and then the reward. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. I see no's. No shake. Okay. Shaking. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's kind of tie this together. So this would be an example, I mean, in my life that I have to be very careful with is when I wake up in the morning. So my cue and the trigger is literally I wake up, and the craving would be like, I'm feeling a little tired today. It's gloomy outside, so I want to feel alert. I want to feel awake in the morning, right? So that's the craving. I want to feel awake. I want to feel alert. I want to have energy. So the response that a lot of us get in these bad habits with is I go directly to the coffee pot or the caffeinated beverage of whatever kind you like, right? Energy drinks, terrible for us. We all know that, but a lot of us still do it. Okay. So that's the response is I drink a cup of coffee. Cue, I woke up. The craving, I want to feel energy and alert. My response is, I need my caffeine. How many, rhetorical question, how many of you guys have been stuck in that cycle before? Right? Like, I just need my caffeine for the day every morning. I got to have my cup of coffee, right? Okay, so then the reward of that is going to be like you kind of satisfy that craving to feel alert. And so, thus, psychologically, drinking coffee then becomes associated with waking up. Has anybody ever thought about that? It's so simple, yet so complex. This has been shown over and over and over in psychology research that so many of us do things that we don't even necessarily want or need to do, but we've associated them with certain activities so much that it's just the way it is. I wake up in the morning, I need my cup of coffee. And I might not even be thinking that, but that is literally, I know this is true because I've dealt with this before in my own life. It's like, I don't even like coffee. Why am I drinking coffee every morning when I wake up? Even on mornings when I'm not even tired, I wake up and I jump out of bed and I'm energized. Why do I still go to the coffee pot? And it really took a lot of reflecting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've trained my brain. Okay, so it's just an example. Start thinking about all these things, whatever it may be in your life. Okay. Okay, so in the book, Atomic Habits, he calls this the 4 laws of behavior change. So how do we start helping these maybe problems with a bad habit, or how do you start with a good habit? Because you can do either one. You can try to break bad habits and you can try to implement good habits. So 4 laws of behavior change. Number 1, the cue, you want to make the cue obvious. So if you're trying to make a good habit, make the cue obvious, just like Sandy did, just like Heather did. Make that visual cue. The fruit bowl's there, the vegetable bowl's there, the healthy snacks are right there. I see them. So when I'm hungry, boom. That's a great example of an obvious cue. If you make your cues difficult, you're less likely to do them. Okay, so if the fruit was hidden away in a top shelf above the refrigerator, I mean, you might forget it's there, number 1, and then you're less likely to do it. Okay, I think that's pretty simple to understand. Number 2, with the craving, make the craving attractive. What that means, so an example would be, let's say you want to get in better shape, you want to lose some weight, all the things. So an attractive craving would be joining a group of people maybe, or maybe joining a gym that you're going to feel comfortable in. That's going to be a community where everyone there kind of has the same goals and aspirations as you to get healthy, maybe to lose weight, whatever it is. Make that attractive so it's something you want to do. I want to go to the gym because my best friends are there and I know we always get a great workout together and we can keep each other accountable. Okay. Another example of making a craving attractive is what's called temptation bundling. Okay, so that temptation bundling basically means you pair something you want to do with something you need to do. All right, so an example of this would be, you want to watch your favorite TV show at night, right? But you know the habit you want to get into is you need to fold the laundry. This is probably a silly example, but so what do? You temptation bundle. You fold the laundry while you watch the TV show. Okay, and then you're going to get the thing that you need to get done. Okay, it could be, well, I'm just going to use Sandy's example because she says she meal prepped. So if you hate meal prepping, but you enjoy watching Seinfeld, I mean, whatever. Put Seinfeld on while you're meal prepping. Make it a little bit more attractive and enjoyable. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about this, but it's like kind of common sense stuff that I know I just do a bad job with that. So it's always good to be reminded. Bundle these good habits with things, these things you want to change with things that you enjoy, and you're more likely to do them. All right. The third thing is the response. So the key to the response is make it easy. So I know James Clear says reduce the friction points. The friction points is basically, you guys all know what friction is. The more friction there is, the more stress around it, the less likely you're going to do it. So sticking with the gym example, like if you join a gym that's 20 minutes out of your way from work to home, you're less likely to maintain and sustain. Does that make sense? But if you join a gym on the way home, that man, it's literally like right there, more than likely you're going to get it done more often than not. And that's what the science shows. That's what the research shows. So make whatever response you want to have. I need to go to the gym. I need to exercise. I need to get my resistance training in. Make it as easy as possible for you to get that work done. Okay. And the last one is make the reward satisfying. And this is why I'm such a, oh, as painful as sometimes it is, guys, to have you guys share wins every week, because I've preached and preached is why do we do that? Because of dopamine and other neurotransmitters. The more we do that with other people, number one, in a group or with your partner, spouse, kids, if you guys do this with other people, even when you hear other people's wins, it can trigger the dopamine response. Now, when we share them with other people, it definitely does. And even it's been shown that if you just do it internally, you don't even have to vocalize it. So I know a lot of you guys have wins, and I wish everything in me that you would share them, because I hear them. You guys tell me one-on-one, but you don't share them in the group, and that's fine. There's never any pressure, but at least be doing that in your own head. Celebrate the darn wins you guys are having, the smallest ones. Doesn't have to be anything huge. Another couple examples of how you make things satisfying or rewarding is, using like I don't know how many of you have ever done this, but like journaling or using a habit tracker of some sort. Maybe it's like a calendar where, Sandy, let's just say, I keep picking on you, but like maybe your goal is to meal prep every Sunday and Wednesday, because maybe you need to do it twice a week since you have a family, whatever. Sunday and Wednesday. So you have that on your calendar, Sunday meal prep, Wednesday meal prep. Every single time you get that done, you put a big old X through it and you can visually see it. So that becomes more rewarding. We know that when we see things, like how many of you guys have to-do lists and you check things off? Do you get pleasure out of that? I do. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. Check, 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 check. Yes, that's the point. And it's not just in your head. This is an actual dopamine reward center of your brain cycle. Okay, so do that with your good habits. Okay, now real quickly, because we're about out of time, is you basically, this is real easy. Think about the 4 things I just said with good habits. And I get this question a lot. Well, how do I break bad habits? Man, I do all these things and I know I shouldn't. All you have to do is the inverse of what we just said. So just the opposite of what we just said. So with the cue, make the cues for the bad habits as hard as you can. Make them invisible, like as much as you can do it. Okay, so reduce your exposure to it if it's something that you're exposed to. I know he uses some examples in the book, like oh gosh, what was it? Like if your habit is to, like, say, scroll your phone at night before bed, which is obviously terrible for our brains, or first thing in the morning, like either put your phone in another room to charge overnight so you don't wake up right away and do that, or even further yet, give your phone to someone else, like your spouse, your kid, somebody, and say, hey, don't let me have this for 2 hours. Maybe it's a coworker. If you're not getting work done at desk, give them your phone and say, don't let me have this for the next 2 hours. He uses that example in the book. And I was like, man, that's actually, start doing that and you'll save a lot of time. I think the other example was if somebody's struggling, like if guys, oh man, I know adults as well, but I always think of kids when I talk about this, but like the amount of kids and teenagers that are struggling with depression and anxiety, it's mind-boggling. So one of the things that you can do is with social media, it's going to be harder for a kid, but with us, it's like stop following social media pages that make you feel like crap or that make you feel inferior or make you feel like a failure. Like you see these people in their glorified Instagram and you're like, oh my gosh, why can't I be like that person? It's probably 90% fake, number one. So stop following them. It'll do wonders for your mental health and your kids as well. So anyway, a couple examples of making these bad habits invisible or harder. Okay, number two is make it unattractive. So obviously the opposite of attractive is unattractive. So reframe your mindset sometimes, and you can tell yourself all the benefits of avoiding the bad habit. Every time you think about it, it's like, oh, I want that Oreo cookie. You guys wonder, do you ever wonder why I say certain examples? It's because oh, I want that Oreo cookie. And it's like, you know what? Why do I want that Oreo cookie? It's going to make me feel like crap. Like literally, I eat the sugar and I always feel like junk. Like it's not fun. I know it's not good for my health. I know it's going to set me back. So I start, just reminding myself of these things. Okay? Um, yeah, I think that's enough on that one. Okay, so then the third one is in making it difficult. So adding friction. We talked about those friction points, adding friction, making it harder to accomplish. So maybe it's like something like increasing the number of steps or increasing the amount of energy it would take you to do the bad habit. Okay, so an example of that is kind of like what I just said with the phone. Like, man, like, make it hard, like increase the friction points, put it in the other room instead of right by you at the desk if you're trying to work. It's how many of us, again, rhetorical, you don't have to answer, but like I know I get in this habit. It's like my phone, this silly little computer in a 4x3 thing is sitting right by me. Maybe it's at night when I'm spending time with my kids. Maybe it's at my desk here and I'm working. And how many of you guys can relate to this? You're working or you're doing whatever, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, your phone is in your face and you're just like scrolling or looking at it. And you're like, well, why did I even pick it up? It didn't ring. I didn't have a message. So if that phone was, you know, I don't know, it's in another room even, that can help break those habits. Okay, think about those kind of things. And then lastly is make it unsatisfying. Make it unsatisfying. So don't make these bad habits feel good. What are some ways you could do that? Well, one idea is have an accountability person or partner. Like if you know someone is going to ask you or check on you and then scold you, I'm kidding. If they know like, man, I need to spend less time on my phone I'm going to use an example for me. I want to spend less time on my phone at night because I only have 2 or 3 hours with my kids before bed every day, right? I need to be intentional with my time with them. So I'm going to say, whoever, Brittany, whoever is in my life that's around me at that time, please keep me accountable. If you see me on my phone, ask me if it's really important, if it's something I have to do right then and there, if it can wait till later. Make it healthy. We don't need to scold each other and create fights, but ask them to hold you accountable. So there's an example. Okay. I think we're up on time, and that's pretty much what I had in my mind as far as covering today anyway. So do you guys have any questions or comments on any of that? Is that helping? Are you guys thinking of things in your life where like, yeah, man, I need to do that? Anybody? Yeah, good. Awesome. Any questions? Okay. It's not 9:15 at night, it's 1:12 in the afternoon. All right. So now I will change my departure and say, have a great rest of your day, not have a good sleep. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your day. We'll chat
Thank
with
you. You
soon.
too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.